Energy media does quite a few stories on the electrification of transportation. And as a result, I tend to lurk in social media groups, the EV groups. And the most common complaint I hear is about the lack of public charging infrastructure. So I'm going to talk to Donald Jantz, who is the partnerships manager for Green Economy Canada, about a $3.9 million incentive fund they have to get more infrastructure built. So welcome to the interview, Donald.
Thanks very much. It's a real pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have you. So, how bad is the public charging infrastructure? How much more do we need?
Mark, that's an excellent question. It is. There's a huge deficit in terms of the public charging that's available. When you look at Canada's kind of infrastructure relative to real leaders in this area, in places like Norway and Sweden, we have a far lower proportion of chargers. And the geographic distribution of our country, I mean, we're used to traveling very long distances pretty regularly, and you need to know that where you're going to get, you're going to have a charger. So from my perspective, this is where it's a good start, and it's great that the federal government is investing at the rate that it is. We're going to need to see, ever greater levels of investment in this infrastructure.
Now, the idea behind your program is to provide incentives up to $100,000 to for-profit business, not-for-profits, that sort of thing. What kind of, I imagine you'll get quite a good uptake on that program.
Yes, there's enormous pent-up demand. When we look at other programs that have launched recently using the same sources of funding, they can sell out in a few weeks when they plan to go for a year. And we're seeing definitely really good uptake. Multi-unit residential buildings are also small fleet, are looking at those smaller installations. If folks are looking to do really big installations, often they'll go straight through Enercan. So yeah, we're looking to make sure we look at the locations that are suggested and hope and make sure that they will meet demand in that area.
One thing I'm interested in, Donald, is the private sector's approach to this. I mean, you see charging stations all the time in grocery store parking lots, that sort of thing. What is the incentive? Like, what's the self-interest for a business to put in a charging station?
Excellent question. I am asked this really often. There's kind of two pieces to it. Studies have shown in Australia and in the States that a customer who's charging will probably stay longer. So they can do estimates, but they often stay for up to an hour longer and spend in the order of $50 more than other customers. The part of that that's interesting too is you're usually as a customer with an EV looking for locations where to charge. So by having your charger on that network, you're going to attract new customers that may make it a habit to come back. They enjoyed their experience. It was nice to be able to go visit your store or your retail environment. And we're seeing more and more businesses focused on that as a real business opportunity. Of course, it's also kind of a good signal to your general customer base. They notice when there's an EV charger. They might even go take a look at the Tesla or Volvo that's sitting there getting charged and be curious about how it works. So it gives a really good message. It signals that you're part of that solution. So there's a number, I think, of business benefits.
What kind of nonprofits would be interested in this? Are we talking about maybe communities, Indigenous communities, that sort of thing?
We're definitely trying to focus on folks who aren't necessarily targeted for these types of programs in the past. So our program specifically is incenting marginalized communities who are often disproportionately impacted by climate change and trying to make sure that they can be included in part of this process. So we're definitely going to be reaching out to Indigenous folks, women, racialized people, youth are also a target, persons with disabilities, really anyone who self-identifies as underrepresented, and give them a kind of 45 days in the initial rollout of our program to get their submissions in, and we'll provide supports to help them put together those proposals.
Well, I'll provide the link to your program in the YouTube description, so anybody who's interested can find it there. And Donald, thank you very much for this. Really appreciate it.
Thanks. Again, it was a real pleasure. Look forward to talking to you again. And I do want to say I really enjoy your program. I listen to it frequently.
Well, thank you. We always appreciate the kind words.